Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Better put it over there, otherwise we can't walk through to the bathroom. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. We haven't got any more chairs. What are you going to do?
Oh, I have one chair.
Yeah? Maybe we can bring one more chair. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Oh Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Shri Radha Shamasundar ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Pranamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Sanyavari Pastichari Sutari. Hare Krishna. Welcome, dear devotees. Welcome back from the Punjab. You didn't get your job, I hope. No job. You got some punya. Punya. Hope they're not bang a hole through the wall. That's on the other room. This room, they're drilling. They were drilling in here yesterday in the wall. And they're banging on the wall over there or something. Simply banging and breaking things, smashing and banging all the time in this world, isn't it? Breaking buildings down all the time, going on, bombs going off, non-stop disturbance. What to do? Yesterday we read from the 10th canto, chapter 14, and we read 2 verses, the prayers of Lord Brahma, after his episode with the cows and the cowherd boys, and his being, let's say, put into place, and his being humbled. So today we read a very famous verse of Lord Brahma. It's text number 3 of the 14th chapter. Hare Krishna. And this verse is one of the most famous in this chapter. There are 3 or 4 very, very notorious verses in this chapter, and this is one of them. We'll probably just cover this verse today, if possible, to some degree. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
And if you like, if you can, maybe you have it, I don't know if you have it on your mobiles. If you don't, I'll just read it through. It's 10th canto, 14th chapter, text number 3. Hare Krishna, welcome Prabhu. You have to adjust yourselves a little bit to make way for the devotees to come in. Take up whatever kind of cushion or seating facilities are available. We have very meager facilities here, I'm afraid. Hare Krishna Prabhu, what's your good name?
Yannick.
Pardon?
Yannick is my name.
Jalik?
Yannick.
From?
Yannick. From Germany.
Germany, that's right, yeah. We met before. Last year sometime, was it last year?
In April.
This year, was it? This year in April, yeah. Where are you staying now? Still in Govardhan Eco Village?
No, here nearby, 2 kilometers in Vrindavan.
Oh, you're staying in Vrindavan.
Yeah, but I'm moving to Rishikesh.
Moving to Rishikesh, huh? You want to live in Rishikesh?
For 1 month.
Oh, nice. Hare Krishna. So thank you for coming. Yeah, so we're reading the 3rd verse of the 14th chapter today. Jnane prayasam udapastya namanta eva. Jnane prayasam udapastya namanta eva. Jivanti sanmakaritang bhavadiyavartam. Stane stane stita shruti gatam tanuvan. Stita shruti gatam tanuvan. Oh, there's a line. I see. There's the next page. I thought there was something missing there. Stane stita shruti gatam tanuvan. Vamanobir. Ye prayasho jita jito pyasitais trilokyam. Translation. This is Lord Brahma speaking. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Oh my goodness. You have a young attendee today. Boy or girl?
Boy.
How old is he?
6.5 months.
Pardon?
6.5 months.
6.5 months. Oh, amazing. And how are you?
Good, thank you.
Nice to see you here.
And we couldn't make it because we got here last night. She was taking rest.
You just got here last night?
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard that you're giving class.
Wow.
So I thought we just gone.
Any other devotees came from UK?
There's a few from Leicester.
Yeah?
There's quite a few devotees from Leicester now that just moved into today.
Really?
So
Wow.
very fortunate to be here with the guys.
Good to see you. Staying for some program?
Staying for the 6th.
Down to the 6th. Huh? Wonderful. Getting charged up, ready for the Prabhupada book marathon. So Lord Brahma, the translation of this verse, those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words and mind, offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. Commentary, of course, is by the followers of Srila Prabhupada. It's not directly commented on by Prabhupada here, but we'll read the purport. Here the word udapasya clearly indicates that one should not even slightly endeavor to understand the absolute truth by the process of mental speculation, for it invariably carries one to an imperfect, impersonal understanding of God. The word jivanti indicates that a devotee who always hears about the Lord will go back home, back to Godhead, even if he can do nothing except maintain his existence and hear topics concerning the Lord. Srila Sanatana Goswami has explained the words Tanuvan Manobihi, by the body, words and mind, in three ways. In reference to devotees, through their body, words and mind, they are able to conquer Lord Krishna, thus becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness. They can touch his lotus feet with their hands, call him to come with their words, and attain his direct audience within their mind simply by thinking about him. In the case of non-devotees, the words Tanuvan Manobihi refer to the word Ajita, unconquered, and indicate that those not engaged in the loving service of Lord Krishna cannot conquer the absolute truth by their bodily strength, their verbal expertise, or their mental power. Despite all their endeavors, the ultimate truth remains beyond their reach. In reference to the word Jitaha, conquered, the words Tanuvan Manobihi indicate that the pure devotees of Lord Krishna conquer his body, words and mind. So when we use our words, body and mind in the service of Krishna, you can conquer Krishna's body, words and mind. Lord Krishna's body is conquered because he always remains by the side of his pure devotees. Lord Krishna's words are conquered because he always chants the glories of his devotees. And Lord Krishna's mind is conquered because he always thinks about his loving devotees. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained the words Tanuvan Manobihi in regard to the word Namantaha, offering obeisances. He explains that the devotees can take full advantage of the transcendental topics of the Lord by offering all respects to those topics with their body, words and mind. One should engage his body by touching the ground with his hands and head, while offering obeisances to the topics of the Lord. One should engage his words by praising transcendental literatures such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as the devotees who are preaching such literatures. And one should engage his mind by feeling great reverence and pleasure while hearing the transcendental topics of the Lord. In this way, a sincere devotee who has acquired even a small amount of transcendental knowledge about Lord Krishna can conquer him and thus go back home, back to Godhead, for eternal life at the Lord's side. End of purport. Some of you may be familiar with this verse. Some of you may be familiar with the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. What's his name? Nimai Oja, that's right. Nimai Oja? Ojas, Nimai Ojas. I mean, you told me before, I remember. Nimai, Hare Krishna, do you remember? You remember when Lord Chaitanya was in Kovur talking with Ramananda Roy? Yes, he does. Hare Bo. Hare Krishna. Really well, he remembers. When Lord Chaitanya met with Ramananda Roy. Some of you have read that conversation. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya or in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You've read? It says, well, you know, there are 9 limbs, right? 9 limbs of devotional service. And one of them, to hear. Sometimes we don't focus enough on that one. So we focus a lot on service, maybe kirtan also. Maybe prayer sometimes, not so much either. Daily worship, huh? But hearing is the first of the 9 limbs. And the most, because in general the most important and effective of the 9 limbs is to hear the topics as we hear today. Those who even while remaining situated. In other words, stay where you are. You don't have to move, you know. I mean, you have to move in terms of walking around, but you don't have to change your ashram or change your gender. Now, it's a popular thing nowadays. Mahananda was telling me he was down early morning, 1 o'clock in the morning or something. He was down at the Jamuna this morning. He's up all night. He did parikrama in the middle of the night around Vrindavan. And he said there was transgenders, many transgenders down there. 1 o'clock in the morning. People changing their gender. Incredible. Nowadays it's a very common thing. You don't have to change anything. Stay where you are. It may not be the best and you may have other ideas. But the most important thing is like here. And don't try to understand the absolute truth by speculation. We try to analyze them, work things out. Not required. So here we are, and what do? With their body, mind and words, offer all respects to your descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating our lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees. In other places it says to hear those narrations spoken. It's a very famous verse spoken by Radharani, which is also here in the Madhya Lila. This is the Bhagavatam. But this particular verse which we've just read is a very famous verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're going to go there in a minute. And also in Chaitanya Charitamrita there's a very famous verse which is quoted also from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam regarding narrations concerning the personality of Godhead, or verses spoken by him. Who knows, remember, it was Lord Chaitanya went into complete ecstasy when he heard this verse. It was spoken to him by King Prataparudra. Tavakatam mitam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmashapaham shravanamangalam shrimadatatam buiviginantiye burida janaha. Is dancing in ecstasy here in the verse. What did King Prataparudra recite this verse of Radharani? What is that verse? Topics spoken by Krishna or about Krishna are the only relief. The only relief for those suffering in this material world. There is no other relief but to hear about topics concerning Krishna. Such subject matter, such topics should be distributed widely all over the world. And those who take this on board, they are the greatest welfare workers. Burida Janaha. They are the greatest welfare workers to spread this message. The shift system, the dog starts now. The banging starts, the dog will start now. After that, the drilling will start next. Don't worry, we have a shift system here. And the cows will be mooing. The cows mooing we can hear day and night. I have no problem with that. It's wonderful. It's so important to hear this. That's why sometimes we hear. Now I'm going to go somewhere in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now I understand that most of you have not read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Who has read the Chaitanya Charitamrita? All the way through. Hands up. Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita. Harini, you've read it all the way through? Well done. She reads a lot. That's why she's able to do many books on Sankirtan. Powered. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, when he went on his tour of South India, he came to Kuvur on the banks of the Godavari River, and there he met one of his eternal associates named Ramananda Roy. Everything is different. Lord arranged all this for us meetings. The Ramananda Roy was also a minister in the government of King Prataparudra, so he was actually in administration. And he was born in a considered to be a bit of a low-class family, huh? Kayasta, I think. Kayasta? Huh? Was it Kayasta? Something like that. But they were considered in society at that time, although they're not actually Sudras as such, but they were likened on the level of Shudras. But they were very expert administrators. So the king had employed him in administration. But he was considered lowly by the social caste system. But he was an administrator, so he had many servants assisting him. He's like a governor for a large tract of land, including the Madras, or what's now known as Tamil Nadu, half of Andhra Pradesh, practically speaking. He was administrating. So he was an important man materially. So he was there and with his men, and of course everything was arranged. The Lord went there specifically to meet with him because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Jagannath Puri, whom Lord Chaitanya had converted from the speculative monist to a Vaishnava, And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told Lord Chaitanya, said to him, please meet with Ramananda Roy when you go south, because he is a great devotee of the Lord. I didn't appreciate him before, but now I understand his elevated position. So Lord Chaitanya particularly went there to try to meet with Ramananda Roy. And so they met. And then they agreed to meet later on to discuss confidential topics. This conversation with Ramananda Roy, probably in the whole of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is the most confidential, probably. There are other confidential topics discussed in the conversation with Sanatana Goswami and others, but probably the most deep is this conversation, because with Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, primarily he was emphasizing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, Sambandha, and the practical application of that philosophy to lead to the platform of perfection. And with the people in general, he hardly discussed even philosophy. Hardly. He practically just spread the holy name, just get everyone to chant. But with those who were a little bit educated and learned, he would speak philosophy up to a certain point. With Prakashananda Saraswati, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, even there he didn't go into the depth that he went into with Rupa Goswami or Sanatana Goswami. You know, with different individuals he would reveal or discuss various topics related to Krishna. But primarily he didn't. So they, knowing, of course, Ramananda Roy is none other than Vishaka in Krishna Lila. Vishaka and Lalita appear in Gaur Lila as Swarup Damodar as Lalita and Ramananda Roy as Vishaka, to assist the Lord in his purpose of appearing in the world. So they went to a secluded place. They arranged to go to a secluded place because they didn't want all of his assistants who could not understand. How is this a sannyasi is embracing a lower class man from a Shudra race, Shudra class basically. It was difficult for them to understand, you know. He wasn't a Brahmin. But so they went to a secluded place with no one else around. And there they discussed. And at this point, we'll read a purport here. This is Prabhupada's purport. The word rahastane in a secluded place is very significant. Very significant. Talks about Krishna and his pastimes, especially his pastimes in Vrindavan, and his dealings with the gopis are all very confidential. They are not subject matter for public discussion, because those who have no understanding of the transcendental nature of Krishna's pastimes always commit great offenses, thinking Krishna to be an ordinary human being and the gopis ordinary girls. Following the principle of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who never discussed the dealings between Krishna and the gopis publicly, devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement are enjoined not to discuss the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan in public. And we see this often goes on amongst audiences who are not very elevated in Krishna consciousness, who have either an impersonalistic or a materialistic perception or a speculative perspective of what's going on here. Are you hungry? Nimai, are you hungry? Hare Krishna. He's like Nimai, he's sucking his thumb, sucking his big toe. Have a good suck. Go on, suck away. Suck away. It's okay, let him suck. Babies need to suck. Amazing, huh? We hear that with Nimai sucking his big toe, huh? For the general public, Sankirtan is the most effective method to awaken Krishna consciousness. If possible, one should discuss the principles enunciated in the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed this principle very strictly and discussed the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, here he says, with learned scholars like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Saraswati. However, he taught the principles of Bhakti cult to students like Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami, and he discussed with Sri Ramananda Roy the topmost devotional dealings between Krishna and the gopis. For the general populace, he performed Sankirtan very vigorously. We must also follow these principles in preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. Now, there's summarization, you could say, of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. So we're going to go now to the conversation with Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But we're going to take it up to this point. Beyond this point, of course, enters into the realm of spontaneity and on to Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti and so on. But we're going to take it as it comes. So in the 8th chapter of the Madhya Lila, text number 57, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Ramananda Roy. He said to Ramananda, recite a verse from the revealed scriptures concerning the ultimate goal of life. Recite a verse concerning the ultimate goal of life. Okay, we got the fireworks that's starting now, that's good. Fireworks are starting now. So Lord Chaitanya asked him, recite a verse. So Ramananda Roy then recited a verse. I took out the Sanskrit, just the English. He says, if one executes the prescribed duties of the social position, he awakens his original Krishna consciousness. So what does that mean? There's a verse from the Vishnu Purana, which is a very famous verse. This is maybe the verse, I don't know. What's he referring to here? Could be, but in terms of practicality, Varnashram. Act according to your nature in the Varnas and ashrams. And of course, Daivi Varnashram, not just mundane organization, but with a spiritual purpose behind it, directed by the Lord through the Brahminical class who are supposed to be connected to the Lord. And you follow your prescribed duty under their particular direction, performing sacrifices and so on and so forth. It's the recommended Chaturvarnya Mayashristam Gunakama Vibhagasha, recommended process by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? It's one of the build-up methods. So he said this. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, in this connection, Sri Ramanujacharya states in the Vedanta Sangraha that devotional service is naturally very dear to the living entity. Indeed, it is life's goal. The devotional service is supreme knowledge, this devotion, or Krishna consciousness, and it brings detachment from all material activity. In the transcendental position, a living being can perfectly acknowledge the superiority of serving the Supreme Lord. The devotees attain the Supreme Lord only by devotional service. Having such knowledge, one engages in his occupational duty, and that is called Bhakti Yoga. That's coming to the, perfectional stage, you could say. That's our real business. By performing Bhakti Yoga, one can rise to the platform of pure devotional service. A great saint, the father of Srila Vyasadeva, Parashara Muni, has specifically mentioned that the devotional service of the Lord can ultimately be awakened in human society by the discharge of duties in accordance with the Varnashram system. The Supreme Personality of Godhead instituted Varnashram Dharma to give human beings a chance to return home, back to Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, who is known in the Bhagavad Gita as Purushottam, the greatest of all personalities, personally came and declared that the institution of Varnashram was founded by him. And he quotes that verse, Chaturvarnya Mayashristam. And elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 18th chapter, 45-46, human society should be divided into 4 divisions, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And everyone should always engage in his occupational duty. The Lord says that those engaged in their occupational duty can attain perfection simply by rendering loving devotional service to the Lord while executing their particular duty. Stay where you are. Actually, the modern idea of a classless society can be introduced only by Krishna consciousness. Let them perform their occupational duty, and let them give their profits to the service of the Lord. In other words, one can attain the perfection of life by discharging one's occupational duty and employing the results in the service of the Lord. This method is confirmed by great personalities like Bodhayana, Tanka, Dramita, Gurudev, Kapardi, and Baruchi. It is also confirmed by the Vedanta Sutra. So this is one recommendation, which is from scripture, and it is certainly relevant to those still in the material world. But is this really what Lord Chaitanya wants to hear? Has he gone all the way there just to be told that, perfection of life is to engage in your prescribed duties within the Varnashram Dharma and, worship Krishna some way or another? Not quite. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped. This is the verse, I think, Vishnu Purana. Is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashram. There is no other way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must be situated in the institution of the four Varnas and Ashrams. There is no other way. Finished. Confirmed. Huh? There is no other way. This is the only way. Got it? Yes? No? It's funny, isn't it? This is from Shastra. We see some religionists also kind of say the same thing. There is no other way, as in this. Same thing. There is no other way. It says right the very same words. There is no other way. Same words are mentioned here. There is no other way. But there is. It's not the thing is that at that stage, you've got to go through that. It's like if you're going from here to the Krishna Balaram temple, you've got to cross the Parikrama Marg. There's no other way. Right? Somewhere or other, you've got to cross it. Under it, over it, across it. Whichever way you go, you've got to cross it, right? I guess. You've got to cross over. You may like or not like it, may be packed. But there's no other way. You've got to cross over the Parikrama Marg. And only then can you reach the Krishna Balaram Mandir. Right? So it says there's no other way for the people in general. When you're at this stage, this is the process. However, of course, in Kali Yuga it's a little bit complicated. Prabhupada writes in the purport. This is a quotation from Vishnu Purana, as stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Bhava Bhasya. The purport is that one can realize one's perfection simply by satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Atat pumbir dvija shreshta varnashrama vibhagashaha sunithitasya dharmasya sangsidhir haritoshanam. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the Personality of Godhead. So that's the highest perfection that one can achieve in that, by that process, is Sangsidhir Haritoshanam, to please the Personality of Godhead. That's what it's for. It's not just to accommodate our material nature or our material desires or to make a nice peaceful society, but it's ultimately to please the Personality of Godhead. But it's just a stage. It's a stage. It's like all religions of the world, they're supposed to be stages to help us to move towards pure love of God. Unmotivated, uninterrupted, supposed to be. But if we conclude that they are the all-in-all end of it, then you don't get very far. You get stuck on the ladder, so to speak. Same with yoga. They call it the yoga ladder. You get stuck on a certain level. Gyan yoga or karma yoga, lower down jnana yoga, ashtanga. You get stuck on certain levels or maybe you come to a level of Brahman realization, but you get stuck there. That's not the idea. It may be a stage. Those who properly execute their prescribed duties live peacefully and are not disturbed by material conditions. Not even by the banging and crashing and the drilling and the barking and the fireworks. Nothing disturbs. Because they didn't probably have so much of that in traditional society, at least not right on your doorstep. If one executes his prescribed duties in both the social and spiritual orders, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied. So a lot of people will stay at that level. If one neglects his duties, however, he becomes a transgressor and a candidate for a hellish condition. That's like the Bhagavad Gita was more or less based on that principle in the beginning, isn't it? Arjuna wanted to neglect his duties, right? He didn't want to fight. He wanted to go away, meditate, right? And Krishna, what did he say? Very good, Arjuna, well spoken. Well, that was good. I wish I'd thought about that before. We would have stopped the war, you know. Now, what did Krishna say? Nonsense. Yeah, this is very Anaryan. This is very against the Aryan society. You're behaving here like a fool, like a nonsense rascal, he said. You're speaking so many words, but you're speaking a lot of nonsense. Basically, that's what Krishna said. Wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Confirmed. So he didn't appreciate Arjuna's arguments. Arjuna kept on. He wasn't going to give up that easily. Well, in the first chapter you see he made many points. But when Krishna said that, then Krishna started to really explain to him. Because Arjuna, the key point was he was submissive. Submission is the key. Submission. Submissive hearing is the key. Probably the biggest key to hear submissively from the right source. Probably satam pasangam mama vira samvido. To hear in the association, the right association of devotees, to hear the message of Krishna Katha is probably the biggest key in of itself in terms of, that transformation. Of course, it also includes, you could say, accepting. Naturally accept, when you hear submissively, it means you're accepting that person as your spiritual guide, spiritual master. So that's automatically there, that connection. And then that's submissive, as Krishna says to Arjuna, to hear submissively, isn't it? Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gyanam gyaninas tadvidarshana. To hear submissively, secret. Render service and hear submissively. Key. So here, the idea is that they hear. It's not just following your path according to the Varna Shram system, which is recommended herein, no doubt. So Krishna then spoke to Arjuna, and Arjuna heard him. And by hearing, in the 18th chapter, Krishna says, have you heard attentively? Have you heard attentively, Arjuna? Are your doubts all cleared? Are your doubts cleared? And Arjuna says, yes, all my doubts are now cleared. I've heard clearly what you've said, and now I'm ready to fight. And all my doubts are removed. So these divisions must be there, because different people are differently conditioned, and they definitely have imperfect perceptions, which can be accommodated in various ways to help them to gradually become purified. Every single living entity has some imperfect perception of the truth. To attain perfection, one must make devotional service the center of life. In this way, one can awaken his natural instincts by work, association, and education. One should accept the Varnashram divisions by qualification, not by birth. Unless this system is introduced, human activities cannot be systematically executed. Prabhupada wanted this system to be introduced, very much so. I was talking to Abhiram Prabhu 2 days ago. You may have heard of Abhiram, maybe you've seen his interview on that podcast of Nam Ras podcast. Very famous interview. He was Prabhupada's nurse for the last few months of Prabhupada's personal presence. He was nurse, like along with Upendra, they were Prabhupada's nurses. So he had very personal association with Prabhupada for quite a while there, maybe 4 or 5 months. He's hardly mentioned, it's interesting, in the biography, he's hardly mentioned. A couple of words, but only indirectly. He had so much to say about those last months, which was not recorded. He's got a diary which has not been published. Yeah, it's quite amazing. And one of the things was he was alone in Prabhupada's room one time, and he asked Prabhupada, he said, Srila Prabhupada, do you ever, and your Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, he felt, he was kind of lamenting when he left the world, that so many of his disciples were, becoming very, you could say, ambitious, over-ambitious, wanted to be the next Acharya or wanted, to be whatever, over-ambitious. Do you have any lamentation? Srila Prabhupada said no. Then he thought for a moment, then Prabhupada quietly said, actually I have one lamentation. I have one lamentation. He said, I wanted to introduce the Varnashram system, but I've not been able to do it. I was hoping to go to America to start this. But Prabhupada did not go to America. He got to London and he came back to India. So he said, I lament that I couldn't do that. That's my lamentation. He said like that. Because for the vast majority, and he even said it wasn't just for the public. That's not the idea. He said it's for the devotees. And there's a nice conversation where Prabhupada talks about that. Even my own disciples, they cannot follow. They can't chant their rounds, they can't get up in the morning. They can't follow, practically speaking. He says, of course it can be for everyone, but primarily he said this is for the Hariswara. He said, do you mean for the public? Prabhupada said, no, for our devotees, Prabhupada said. It's required. Because most of us are not so advanced. As Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, even those who are advanced, in the 3rd chapter you can see, even those who are transcendental to the modes of nature. Varnashramas, you could say, to accommodate those on the modes of nature. But even those who are transcendental, still they perform their duties according to their nature. Why? Yad yadacharti shreshtas tateyevi tavojanaha. To show by example, to guide others. Otherwise everyone will imitate. They want to become some Babaji and become simply a fool. They can't follow it. Imitation doesn't work. Go to Radhakund and become a Babaji, and you're still thinking of your girlfriend back in, London or somewhere. And that's only for those who are actually beyond the desire, not just the activity, the desire for sex life, not just the activity. But even they would perform their duty. What's the point otherwise of being in this world? They perform their duty according to their particular nature, to guide others in that particular way. I'll jump over this. This is a description of the various natures of people. Thus everyone can engage in the service of the Lord and awaken his natural Krishna consciousness. In other words, we're sleeping under the modes of nature. We think we're awake, but we're actually asleep under the influence of the modes of nature. Isn't it? We think we're sleeping at night, but actually we're sleeping in the day as well. It's another kind of dream. Under the modes of nature, Maya's put us to sleep. We're under her spell. So by following this is the system of waking up. It's not that the goal of life is just to wake up. That's not the goal of life. But this is the process of waking up. You've got to wake up first before you can, isn't it? Like you're feeding your little boy. But if you're asleep, you can't feed him, can you? You've got to wake up first, then you can feed him. No, you can't do it otherwise. So we've got to wake up. Then devotional service begins when we wake up. We're engaged in devotional service in one sense now, but in another sense, we're kind of half asleep. We're thinking in terms of ourselves, not Krishna, most of the time. I like, I don't like, isn't it? I did, I didn't. He did, he didn't. Yeah, so much. It's not really Krishna conscious in one sense, but it's connecting, it's connecting, it's connecting. Because we're working under a pure devotee who has that vision, who has that Krishna conscious vision, by following him, you know. I mean, otherwise we couldn't follow anything. Just speculate about everything. We follow, and that way one can make gradual, hopefully, progress if we keep good association, avoid offending others. The conclusion is that the scientific method of Varnashram Dharma should be adopted by society. Should be, but it's not so easy. Anyway, so he made this nice proposal to Lord Chaitanya that this is the perfection of human life, perfection, Varnashram. Follow it carefully and worship Krishna. The Lord replied, this is external. You had better tell me of some other means. Ramananda Roy. The Lord Chaitanya basically, because he didn't want to establish a, stepping stone. He wanted to come to the topmost point. So he rejected this proposal. Yes, it's stage, but it's not the goal. Ramananda Roy replied, to offer the results of one's activities to Krishna is the essence of all perfection. They say now we're coming on to karma yoga, at least karma mishra bhakti of some kind or another coming in here. Nice statement. And there's a famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says this, doesn't he? Who knows that verse? Very famous verse, 9th chapter, I think it is. There's two verses, one after the other there, which describe this one is describing more or less like this, like karma yoga or devotional service mixed with karma, you could say. And another one which is a little more pure. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yad jahosi dadasya. Yeah, that nice verse. How does it go? Yat tapasyasi konteya tat karushva madarpanam. Ramananda Roy continued, he said, Ramananda continued. He quoted this verse. My dear son of Kunti, which is a quotation of Krishna, of course. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in sacrifice, whatever you give in charity, whatever austerities you perform, all the results of such activities should be offered to me, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. You should offer it to me. You're still attached to your work. You may still identify with the work. You may still be a little proud of offering the fruits of your work, as most people are. You would like to advertise sometimes our services. Tendency is there. But still, we should do it. At least we should offer it to Krishna. So it's mixed. It's not pure. But it's there. It's the stage which is now one up. You offer everything to Krishna. You don't just follow the path of work recommended by Krishna and worship him, but now you offer the fruits of your work. And whatever you eat, everything should be offered to Krishna. Prabhupada writes here, no he doesn't. Yes he does. This is Chaitanya. Yes he does. This is Prabhupada. The Lord has said that the Varnashram Dharma is not properly executed in this age of Kali. Therefore he ordered Ramananda Roy to go further into the matter. So Prabhupada's like reading, you could say, behind the lines or in the lines, between the lines. That Lord Chaitanya said that this age of Kali, Varnashram is not properly followed. So he's asking her to go further. Ramananda replied with this verse from Bhagavad Gita, which instructs that while remaining in the system of Varnashram Dharma, one may offer the results of his activities to Lord Sri Krishna in loving service. So now it's become a little bit more bhakti, not just kind of ritualistic or just following a system, but it's bhakti is coming in here. You're offering it to Krishna. What do you think, Nimai? Is that a good idea? Are you getting? Not sure about that one. He's only interested in the highest subject matters, I think. Not so interested in these stepping stones here. He wants to really get to them. Hari Bol! Jai. Naturally, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking Ramananda Roy about the execution of devotional service. Ramananda Roy first enunciated the principle of Varnashram Dharma in consideration of materialistic people. However, this conception is not transcendental. As long as one is in the material world, he must follow the principles of Varnashram Dharma. But devotional service is transcendental. The system of Varnashram Dharma refers to the three modes of material nature, but transcendental devotional service is on the absolute platform. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu belongs to the spiritual world, and his methods for propagating the Sankirtan movement are also imported from the spiritual world. It's interesting. People naturally think that the devotees, which, to some degree were mixed, but in another sense, the devotees, we were reading this afternoon how Prabhupada said, every farthing they get, they use it for the publication of books and for the spreading of Krishna consciousness. They do not keep 1 cent. This was 1977. Prabhupada wrote this letter in May 1977 when he was in Rishikesh. He was very ill, but he wrote this letter to his devotees. I don't know who. I don't know if it was for all devotees, but it was a letter which was circulated anyway. And he was in Rishikesh, and he said, here in Rishikesh, the Maharishi has his center, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he also has many followers, and he's also teaching his many followers, but he has to pay them, and he has to give them holidays. Well, they have to pay. Anyway, he gives them holidays. They're like breaks. They're not. Yeah, he said that he has to pay them to do service, to maintain the place there, And Prabhupada said, I'm so fortunate, I don't pay you a farthing, and you take no holidays. I'm so fortunate that, I have disciples like you, not like that. Maybe it's not always the case nowadays, but that's what it was then. Everyone was, just working selflessly, and he said, my disciples are giving, I think it was a letter, actually I can't remember, I could look it up, but maybe it wasn't to the devotees, maybe it was to some other personality, that they are so amazing. They use every farthing they collect, they use for the publication of my literatures and the distribution of my literatures, he said. Every farthing. Right? But people in general think it's an ordinary activity. You guys are making so much money. Look at you, you're driving cars, right? You've got a big apartment in your so-called in Vrindavan. You should be sleeping on the street. Driving big cars, flying in airplanes. You should walk. Right? You walked. And you walked a long way, didn't you? Mm-hmm. You did a lot of walking. You walked you did a lot of walking. He was just walking freely all over the world. Seeing what Krishna arranged. But they see as ordinary activities. You're also doing financial accounts, you're also cooking, you're doing all these things. We're doing the same thing. What's the difference? There's no difference. You can see there's a big difference, and this is the difference. Everything a devotee does is done for Krishna's pleasure. For Krishna's pleasure. Everything they do. You don't go anywhere unless it's an offering unto Krishna, isn't it? It should be. We don't go to the bar or in the middle of the night or something when no one's looking. Do we? I hope not. We don't go to the, pizza shop when no one's looking. Eat some tasty pizza. Or the donut shop. They used to go to the donut shop in San Francisco, the devotees. Right next to the temple there was a donut shop. You know donuts? You know donut? You know donut.
There's a cake with the old inside.
You don't know the donut? Where have you been? Where have you been? You wasted half your life. You wasted half your life. You don't know what a donut is? You all know what a donut is? You know what a donut is? Your brother-in-law knows what a donut is? In America, it's like, people can't live without their donuts. It's like the national food of America, the donut. So there's a donut shop right next to the little temple in San Francisco, and after Prabhupada's lecture, most of them would go into the donut shop and eat donuts. And Prabhupada would come out to walk to his apartment. He'd always look into the donut shop to see who was in there. And one of them would always be on guard. Swamiji's coming, dip down, they'd all hide under the tables when Swamiji would walk by. And then, he's gone, okay, up they come again, eating their donuts. Early days. San Francisco was quite loose.
67.
67, yeah. Very loose. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Golokera Prema Dana Harinama Sankirtan Vatina Dvanmile Ke Netai. This states that the Sankirtan movement has nothing to do with the material world. Appears to. It's just like Vrindavan has nothing to do with the material world. We may see it as material. We come here and you see the same thing. Yeah, hotels are there, same thing. Aircon, this thing, that thing. Nice restaurants. You can get, I don't know if they have a donut shop here yet, do they? You make a big money if you want to start making money here in Vrindavan. Open a donut shop. You won't go back to Gade. Not if you want to make business. If you want to give free donuts to everyone, you might feed them. All the Babajis will all be lining up for their donuts. I'm sure it would catch on a lot. They don't have donuts so much in India as the West so much maybe. But they're big all over the world, donuts now. Italy's not so much. They're too proud of their own food. Lasagna and lasagna and the pasta, pizza. It's imported from the spiritual world. When if they have donuts in the spiritual world? We had a seminar in London a few months ago, and the first question, I had them all write down on pieces of paper. You were there now. On pieces of paper, their questions, And the first one they opened up, are there pizzas in the spiritual world? What a question to ask. One Brahmachari convention. Are there pizzas in the spiritual world? It was so funny. Are there donuts in the spiritual world? Everything's there. This states the Sankirtan movement has nothing to do. It is imported from the spiritual realm. Considering the position, Narottam Das Thakur laments that mundane people do not take this Sankirtan movement seriously. They don't take it seriously. Considering the position of devotional service in the Sankirtan movement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu deemed the system of Varnashram Dharma to be material, though it aims at elevation to the spiritual platform. However, the Sankirtan movement can raise one immediately to the spiritual platform. Consequently, it is said that Varnashram Dharma is external, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested Ramananda Roy to proceed deeper into the matter and uncover the spiritual platform. Sometimes materialists consider Lord Vishnu a material conception. Impersonalists think that above, Lord Vishnu is the impersonal Brahman. The impersonalists misunderstand the worship of Lord Vishnu. They worship Lord Vishnu to merge into his body. Let me jump forward too fast. Dharmam svanishtak pungsham vishvaksena gatasya nopadya didivding Shrama Evi Kevalam. Who knows that verse from the Bhagavatam? You may know that line, Shrama Evi Kevalam. You've heard that. You know. It's a waste of time. In other words, if one executes the occupational duties of Varnashram but does not cultivate his dormant Krishna consciousness, his activities are futile. His occupation simply becomes unnecessary labor. Or a waste of time. Simply working, what for? To go to heaven? To get liberated? For one of the four, categories of dharma or human life, dharma, artha, moksha, kama, moksha. What for? Most people are working hard, they're even coming to Vrindavan for dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Mostly. They're not coming for pure devotional service. Some are. So Lord Chaitanya, of course, rejects this too. This is also external, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Please proceed and speak further on the matter. Ramananda Roy then replied, to give up one's occupational duties in the Varnashram Dharma is the essence of perfection. To give them up, renounce everything, all identities. Purport, a Brahmin may renounce his family and accept sannyas. Others, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, may also give up their families. They take vanaprastha. Only the sannyasis take sannyas. Brahmins take sannyas, rather. Generally, the Vaishnavas and the Kshatriyas do not take sannyas order. They take the vanaprastha order. The Brahmanas take the sannyas order. That's the tradition, anyway. In this age of Kali, this karma sannyas, or this varnashram system, is not recommended, prohibited, practically speaking. The sannyas of Kali Yuga is one of Lord Chaitanya's sannyas, is the full surrender and devotional service. Such renunciation is called karma tyag. They give up their occupation, they give up all connections like that and just renounce. By such renunciation, the Supreme Personality of God is satisfied. In contrast, the process of renouncing the results of one's activities by offering the results to Krishna is not considered uncontaminated, because although such a process implies that one recognizes Krishna as the Supreme Person, it still involves one in activities of the material platform. We're still attached to doing what we like to do according to our conditioning, and it's conditional. It's conditioned on the ashram we're in or the work that we're doing and so on and so forth. So give all that up. To correct this, Ramananda Roy recommended that one take to the renounced order of life to transcend material activity. This is supported by the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Then he quotes another verse. Ramananda Roy continued, occupational duties are described in the religious scriptures. If one analyzes them, he can fully understand their qualities and thoughts and then give them up completely to render service to the personality of Godhead. Such a person is considered a first-class man. He gives everything up, just completely renounced, maybe goes to the forest or whatever, mountains or whatever, and just lives a renounced life. So that's another stage. Sarvadharman, and he quotes the verse from Bhagavad Gita, which you probably know. Sarvadharmam parityajya sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. That's the first verse he's going to learn. His lips were moving when I was saying that. He was trying to repeat it. As stated in Scripture, after giving up all kinds of religious and occupational duties, if you come to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and take shelter, I will give you protection from all life's sinful reactions. Do not worry. So this is also another stage, isn't it, really? Although sometimes we hear this as the most important, essential verse of the Gita, the conclusion of the Gita, surrender to Krishna. Well, what does it mean? Yes, okay, you're surrendering to Krishna. Then, what does it mean? It's still not reached the point. Bhagavatam begins there. In this connection, Raghunath Das Goswami instructs in his book Mana Siksha. He has thus enjoined that we should not perform religious or irreligious activities as prescribed in the Vedas. The best course is to engage always in the service of Lord Krishna and Radharani. That is the perfection of everything in life. Similarly, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni says, when one actually takes to the loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he gives up all duties in the material world, as well as all duties prescribed by the Vedic literature. In this way, one is fixed in the service of the Lord. When it says give up, it could also refer to what we heard earlier on, is that you may continue to do these things, but you're not identifying with it in any way. You don't identify. Naham vipranata narapatir napi vaishya shudra. We're not a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. We identify ourselves as being eternal servants of the servant, not as being a Kshatriya, a Brahmin Vaishya, a Brahmin Vaishnava, a Kshatriya Vaishnava, a Vaishya Vaishnava, whatever it may be. No, we identify ourselves in relationship with service to the devotees. And we're coming to the point now. After hearing Ramananda Roy speak in this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again rejected this statement and said, Go ahead and say something more. That's not enough just to surrender. It's like if, even in our daily lives, the police may say, surrender. Surrender! You may have to surrender to the police, but that's not perfection of life. It's because you were not surrendered, and now you are. You're forced to surrender in one sense, because hopefully it's voluntarily. Ramananda Roy then replied, devotional service mixed with empiric knowledge is the essence of perfection. This is now getting a little bit more deeper. Purport: devotional service mixed with non-Vedic speculative knowledge is certainly not pure devotional service. Therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in his Anubhasya preaches that self-realization following the execution of ritualistic ceremonies is in the neutral stage. He said this is basically in the neutral stage, it's not active stage. It's between liberation and conditional life. It's a place beyond the material world, in the river Viraja, where the three modes of material nature are subdued or neutralized. But it's not. However, the spiritual world is a manifestation of spiritual energy and is known as Vaikuntha, a place where there is no anxiety. Between the two creations, Brahmanda, the material world, and the spiritual world, is this river known as Viraja, which is the neutral stage. Men living entities, they aspire for that. I guess the Buddhists, I suppose. I would guess the Buddhists have some concept like that. Enter into the Viraja is like a dormant stage of neither material nor spiritual. Something in between. But there's no Vaikuntha there. There's no relationship. There's no Krishna consciousness. So Lord Chaitanya wants him to go still further, even though you're sort of, whatever it may be, but understanding beyond the material modes of nature, one's completely disinterested with the material world, completely renounced it, understanding you're not this material body, one's come to that position, not necessarily Brahman, but you may also see that Brahman is also something like that. So then he quotes this verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochatina Kankshati. You come to the Brahman platform, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, the spiritual plane. Samaksaveshu bhutishu mad bhaktim labhate param. That's where real devotional service begins. So Ramananda Roy continued, according to the Bhagavad Gita, one who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. So you may realize that Brahman and become joyful, but that's still not the goal of life. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He's self-satisfied. He's equally disposed towards every living entity. Completely self-satisfied. In that state, so this is like preliminary state now to attain pure devotional service. It doesn't mean you will, but in that state, you have to be on that state to attain pure devotional service. You may not, obviously not a impersonalist, but you're on that state of realization. You're no longer hankering or lamenting for anything. You're no longer identifying with this body in any way. You're no longer depending on this material world. You're no longer need to speculate or analyze things in this way and that way. You're completely self-satisfied within. In that state you can really perform pure devotional service without any interference whatsoever. In this verse from Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a person who accepts the theory of monism, being always engaged in empiric philosophical discussions about spiritual life, becomes joyful and is relieved from all material lamentation and hankering. At that stage, one is equipoised. He sees all living entities as spiritual beings. After attaining this elevated stage, one can attain pure devotional service. The conclusion is that devotional service mixed with ritualistic fruitive activity is inferior to spiritual service based on empiric philosophic discussion. There are two stages. One is Karma Mishra Bhakti, the other is Jnana Mishra Bhakti. So this is Jnana Mishra Bhakti. It's being rejected also. Slightly mixed with one's own speculation. Hare Krishna. A ventriloquist. He's making noises, his mouth was closed. Next verse. After hearing this, the Lord, as usual, rejected it, considering it to be external devotional service. He again asked Ramananda Roy to speak further, and Ramananda Roy replied, Pure devotional service without any tinge of speculative knowledge is the essence of perfection. And there's a nice purport here. In his Anabhasya commentary, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that the stage of devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge is also external and not within the jurisdiction of pure devotional service as practiced in Vaikuntha. As soon as there is some conception of materialistic thought, be it positive or negative, the service is not spiritual. It may be free from material contamination, but because there is mental speculation, the devotional service is not pure and freed from the contamination of material life. A living entity who wants to be completely pure must be above this material conception. The negation of material existence does not necessarily mean spiritual existence. After material existence is negated, spiritual existence, namely Satchidananda, still may not be manifested until one comes to the stage of actually understanding one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. He cannot enter into the spiritual life. Spiritual life means becoming detached from material life and engaging in the loving service of the personality of Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore asked Ramananda Roy to explain something transcendental to devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge. A pure devotee is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, and only by his love does he conquer Krishna, who cannot be conquered by anyone. Krishna always stands victorious over everything. No one can conquer him. One can attain the stage of pure devotion simply by fully surrendering. This is next corroborated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-3, wherein Lord Brahma, defeated by the potency of Sri Krishna, fully surrendered to the Lord. And then the verse which we chanted today, Jnane prayasamodapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam stane stita shuddhatam tanuvam manobhir ya prayesho jita pyasitais trilokyam. A slightly different translation Prabhupada gives in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Ramananda Roy continued, he says, quoting Lord Brahma, "My dear Lord, just hear this translation. I know you've got to go. If you've got to go, you've got to deal with family duties.
Yeah.
Just listen to this one translation. We're almost finished. My dear Lord, those devotees who have thrown away the impersonal conception of the absolute truth and have therefore abandoned discussing empiric philosophical truths should hear from self-realized devotees about your holy name, form, pastimes and qualities. They should completely follow the principles of devotional service and remain free from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication and animal slaughter. Surrendering themselves fully with body, words and mind, they can live in any ashram or social status. Indeed, you were conquered by such persons, although you were always unconquerable." Very more practical, it's a little bit more practical for us. Wherever you are, you just try to dedicate yourself in the service of Lord. Follow the regulated principles mentioned herein and try to hear from self-realized souls about the name, form, qualities and pastimes of the Lord. This is the perfection. This is how the Lord is conquered. Simple process. Okay, sunshine, it's time to go home. Got to put him to bed?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, long day. This is his first time in Vrindavan.
First time, yeah. It's been a busy day. We did like 5 Goswami temples this morning.
Pardon?
We did 5 Goswami temples.
You went to the Goswami temples?
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
far out.
So yeah, it's quite
He went also?
Yeah, he
Wow,
goes to-
my word, is he blessed? Is he blessed?
Yeah.
He wasn't here before when he was in your wife's womb?
Um,
Did you come here that time?
travel.
You didn't come that time,
The
no.
wedding last year.
You didn't travel. You haven't traveled in since then. Wonderful. Well, your wife is here?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, her family is also here, Maharaj.
Oh,
They come
okay.
from Gujarat.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going Gokul Mathura tomorrow.
Gokul.
Yeah, Roman Ghat. And
Who are you going with?
we've had a devotee of Krishna Balaramandra. He's a sort of guide.
Okay.
He's going to be taken as well.
Nice. Good.
And then with Dina Bandhapur the following day.
Oh, very good.
And then Nankam Prasam, and then we
Hmm.
probably a day.
You've been to Gokul before.
Yeah.
It's always good to have a guide there.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. Hopefully, I guess you're here till for a couple of weeks, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope it.
Association.
We're sorry about the disturbances earlier on. The noises were a bit
Sorry
disturbing.
about these.
He was quiet as a mouse. Quiet as a mouse.
Quite lucky. So the whole journey he didn't cry. Any of the flights.
Pardon?
Yeah, he's generally really well behaved.
He seems quite a quiet lad. Give him lots of Krishna Katha if you can.
Yeah, Ami reads Bhagavatam to him and Damodar Janani every day.
Pardon?
Ami reads Bhagavatam to him every day.
Every day
And
Bhagavatam. Good.
Damodar Janani this month.
Excellent. He may not quite understand it right at this moment in time, but by hearing it alone, it will has amazing effect on their
We do a
future.
mini morning program.
Read the Sanskrit too if you can. The sound of the Sanskrit has a very special character building on a child's consciousness to hear Sanskrit. It affects their character. That's what I've heard. Yeah. The Sanskrit helps to make good character. One time we were on Harinam Sankirtan in Sydney, and we were going down this side street off the main road. There was a grammar school. No, it was a private school. It was a private school. It was kind of grammar, but it was a private one, run privately, I don't know what it's called. It's somewhere in North Sydney. Maybe it's not there anymore. It's a private school, run by very rich people apparently. They're all white people there. They're all, Australian kids. They came out when they saw, many of them came out, there's a lunch break I think. They came out when we were chanting to the edge of the school. And we stopped there, and teachers were there too. And they started chanting verses from Bhagavad Gita. These Australian kids. They teach Sanskrit in the school. They were teaching the kids Sanskrit. They asked them why they do that. They're all rich people. They don't let their kids watch TV and things like that, practically. So we want our children to have good character. So we teach Sanskrit. We know that Sanskrit helps to develop good character in a child. They may not follow it up, they may not learn it, they may do anything, but it just creates a certain type of character, quality, a quality.
We did his astrology.
Pardon?
We did his astrology, and Prabhu said that he should be engaged in Sanskrit and Mridanga.
There you go.
It's not
There you go.
So,
Sanskrit and Madanga, okay? Like Lord Chaitanya when he was a child, he was also Sanskrit. He was also a scholar when he was a child. Huh? Later on he was also going on Sankirtan. Pardon?
He's meant to be preaching in this lifetime.
Preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Oh yeah.
that way.
I hope he takes up the Briyat Madanga as well.
Yeah.
The big Madanga. Yeah, he'll be on Sankirtan very soon.
Yeah, he's been on books before.
He did a book?
Yeah, during Rath Yatra time we were fundraising in the book.
He was just doing books?
Yeah, he's come out a few times.
Oh goodness me, you're starting young. Good to see you here. Hope we'll see you around. See your wife also sometime.
See you. Sorry,
We'll just finish this last, you can go anytime. I'll just finish this last verse here. Summarization. There's no comment. We've already, the next section is a comment on that verse. At this point, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "This is all right." This is the first time he said, yes, he accepted this. This is all right. This statement is good. But still you can speak more on the subject. Then Ramananda Roy replied, "Ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the essence of all perfection." And there's a purport here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes a conversation where Lord Chaitanya says to Ramananda Roy, "Eho haya age kaha ar." This is the process accepted in devotional service, but there is something more than this. Therefore, please explain what is beyond. Simply executing the duties of all varnas and ashrams is not as good as offering all the results of one's activities. When one gives up all fruitive activity and fully surrenders to the Lord, he attains Svadharma Tyag, wherein he abandons the social order and takes to the renounced order. That's certainly better. However, better than renounced order is cultivation of knowledge mixed with devotional service. Yet all these activities are external to the activities of the spiritual world. There is no touch of pure devotional service in them. Pure devotional service cannot be attained by empiric philosophy, nor can perfection be attained simply by good association. That's interesting. Let's see more on that. Nor can perfection be attained simply by good association. Nor can perfection be attained simply by good association. There's got to be more than that. By good association you may get what's required, but you've got to do it. You've got to follow that association. You've got to submit to that association. Interesting. So none of these things are in the spiritual world. No, there's no varnashram in the spiritual world. There's no speculation there. There's not a question of, offering the fruits of your work to Krishna. Yes, this, you could say, but not like this. Devotional service by self-realization is a different subject matter. It is untouched by fruitive activity in which one surrenders the results of one's activities to the Lord, and also by the process of abandoning one's prescribed duties and accepting the renounced order of life. Sometimes people think you give up devotional service, and you rise to a higher platform. Now I have reached perfection. I have become one with the Almighty or with the Supreme. Sometimes people think like that. They see devotional service like that, as a stepping stone. Is that right? Many people see like that. Even here in India it's very common. They like to chant, they like to go to the temple, they may even do what they call bhakti yoga. But that's a stepping stone. It's not the goal, it's not the ultimate. It's a stepping stone towards merging into the oneness. Brahman, becoming God or becoming whatever, Brahman. Such devotional service is also situated on a higher platform than that of empiric philosophical speculation with a mixture of bhakti. Without bhakti, at all stages there has to be an element of bhakti, otherwise you can't go forward. Even the varnashram, because it's coming from Krishna, it's connected to Krishna, there's an element of bhakti there. All the yoga paths, some element of connection is there, otherwise you can't make progress. But pure devotional service, and you should all know this verse, Anya Vilasita Shunyam Jnana Kamajanavitam Anukulena Krishnanushilinam Bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophic speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Where are you staying?
MVT.
MVT? Okay, not far away. It's a comfortable place. Take some Mahaprasad before you go. Is offered? 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 Temple Prasad, from the temple, from the altar. Hare Krishna. Take,
Fragrance from the deities.
Pardon?
It's a fragrance from the deities.
Oh! Wow, look at this. My goodness me. Hey, that's not for you. Put your wrist out. It's unusual shape. It's very unusual shape. It looks like.
Thank you very much.
You put someone on Nimai's wrist.
Can I bring him?
Yeah,
Shall I
take it.
bring him here? Or?
Yeah, you have to take it to him. Put it on his wrist. You wanna what is it, pira? You give him some pira. He might not be eaten all yet.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Give one to your wife.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, one for your family, all right?
Sure.
Do you get Nityananda?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Still got the Sochi Mata's, you gave us a photo last time.
Did I? We got Nityananda now.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do I just speak to Mananda about your program here?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got his contact?
Yeah.
I don't know where he is. He was here, then he disappeared. Maybe it's too noisy, I think. Hare Krishna. In the neophyte stage, sadhana bhakti includes faith, association and practicing devotional service. Then when one is free from all unwanted things, one then becomes fixed in devotional service and increases his desire to act in devotional service. Thus one becomes attached to the Lord and his devotional service. There's one key which is now going to come in. And it relates a little bit to what Prabhupada just said, that it's not enough, just good association. And then Ramananda Roy continues, as long as there is hunger and thirst within the stomach, varieties of food and drink make one feel very happy. Similarly, when the Lord is worshipped with pure love, the various activities performed in the course of that worship awaken transcendental bliss in the heart of the devotee. The various activities performed in the course of that worship awaken transcendental bliss in the heart of the devotee. Then he quotes this very famous verse, which is the actual key. Associating with devotees, hearing the holy name, hearing the form, pastimes, and activities of the Lord is accepted by Lord Chaitanya. But this is how one can go further, deeper. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita matihi kriyatam yadi kuto pilabhyate tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam janma koti sukati labhyate tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam. Translation: pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be obtained only by paying one price. Without looking on your mobiles, what is that price? Without looking on your mobile, without even knowing it anyway, what is the price of pure devotional service? This is the real key. What is the price? Where it's available, you've got to go where it's available, no doubt, that we've already heard, the pure devotees of the Lord, and hear from them. But what is the price? You hear that this is the topmost product in the shop, this is the best. You go to the jewelry shop, this is the number one diamond in the shop. You hear from the jeweler. What's the price?
Attraction.
Pardon?
Attraction.
Attraction, you're on the right path.
Desire to get it.
Intense. It can be obtained only by paying one price. That is intense greed to obtain it. We're not greedy, are we? We're greedy for certain things, but we're not. Maybe we're greedy at the previous stage for certain angles of devotional service, some of the process itself. Maybe we're greedy for prasadam, greedy to get recognized or something. A bit more positive greed for certain types of services, certain places. But the essential pure devotional service, we have to be intense greed to obtain that prema, that pure love of Godhead. What does that mean, intense greed? It means there's no other interest whatsoever. It's like somebody, when they're madly in love with something, they can't, nothing else matters. Nothing else enters in. Nothing interferes with it. They're just so, boom, one, focused on that objective, completely focused. So like that, the devotee has no interest in anything, nothing else matters at all, to hell with everything else. That intense greed to obtain prema. That's the requirement to enter beyond. Of course, we're not at that stage, but we should at least understand what, the objectives are, means to attain those objectives to some degree at least. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. So, if you go to a jeweler's shop and there's a diamond, costs €1 million. You can go there and you can find out the price. You say, I want it. You've got to pay the price, haven't you? You're not going to get it otherwise. So there's one thing, you may go to such situation where the topmost jewels available, but you may not have the means to pay the price. So even if it's there, the jeweler won't reveal it to you. He'll give you something you can afford. So he'll give you some instruction which is relevant to a limited level of realization or Krishna consciousness. Gradually more, but we should understand this is our objective, not just to remain at a certain level, but to attain the highest level. we're real relationship with Krishna. But at the moment, our relationship with Krishna is through the pure devotees of the Lord, through devotional service and so on and so forth, deity worship and what have you. But that real personal relationship, that's something much deeper and much more advanced. The previous two verses, it says, these two verses refer to devotional service rendered out of intense greed. The first is devotional service rendered in accordance with regulated principles, and the second refers to spontaneous, loving service of the Lord without extraneous endeavor. This is the mood of the devotee. Those who are in our aspiration for Raganuga is spontaneous. Henceforth, the basic principle underlying the talks between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy will be spontaneous, loving service to the Lord. The regulated principles, according to the injunctions of the Shastra, are necessary insofar as one's original dormant Krishna consciousness is not spontaneously awakened. An example of spontaneous action is the flowing of rivers into the ocean. Nothing can stop this flow of water. Similarly, when one's dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened, it spontaneously flows to the lotus feet of Krishna without impediment. Whatever will be spoken henceforth by Ramananda Roy, based on spontaneous love, will be agreeable to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord will ask him more and more about this subject. Hare Krishna. Are you ready?
Yes.
You have intense greed.
Not yet.
In the material world, people have greed for so many things. Some people are so greedy. Let's channel towards Krishna consciousness. Any questions?
I have a question, but not about this class. Just remind me why sometimes we realize some things in few minutes or few hours after, it's like everything is gone. You have memories about this realization. During the realization it looked very, very clear, but after the mind come back and you think the opposite that you just realize.
Well, that is related to this also. It's a stage which we're on, a bhajana kriya. Our minds are like clouds, like very cloudy. Like things sometimes become clear and then the clouds come and it becomes obfuscated. Sometimes the fog comes and covers our vision again. It comes in different ways, of course. It comes in forgetfulness, because we're not actually applying it with our heart and soul or fully yet. That realization you get when applied becomes, that vision, or realization in one sense, but it becomes a reality, it becomes fixed when we apply it steadily in our lives. It takes time. So the stage of bhajana kriya, where we're not on that stage of nishta sadhana bhakti, then there's going to be ups and downs, sometimes up, sometimes down. But what's happening here is, there are other factors obviously, but it's a gradual formulation of clarification where our consciousness become cleared. When the consciousness, by such thoughts, if they're positive, if they're actually in line with our Siddhanta or our teachings, they can gradually cleanse the consciousness, remove the dust, remove the clouds slowly from our consciousness, so things become clearer and clearer and clearer. And when the clouds are removed from our consciousness, then everything becomes clear. It's not that they'll just appear one minute and then the clouds cover them and you've gone somewhere else. We've got so many other things in our consciousness that take our hearts, take our mind away, take our intelligence away, take us away, and so many different things. We still have so many attractions and distractions and so many karmas and so many misconceptions and so many things which are still there in our consciousness. So sometimes we do get these glimpses. One good thing is when you get these glimpses is to write it down if you have the opportunity. If you do, it's good to remember. It's very good to write it down. It depends on circumstances, but it's good to write it down when you get some, what you feel is a realization. And you can think about it later on. It's a good thing to write it down because this will happen. Memory is very short, and especially in Kali Yuga anyway. People's memory is very, very short. We see in the material world also, somebody gets some material realization that something's wrong, and children, everyone gets this, don't they? They do something wrong, they get trouble, they get punished or something. They realize it's not good to do, but they do it again anyway. They're kind of addicted to it, drunkards, addicts, criminals, and so on. It's difficult. The change of heart is not an easy thing. A change of heart. You have almost like a default to sense enjoyment of various kinds. So when those little realizations come in, take advantage of it. You see the circumstances by which, probably one of the most prominent circumstances where we realize, what do you find? Is there some situations that you find you get some deeper realizations sometimes? Is there anything specific that you find, awakens those deeper realizations? Anyone have any comment? Pardon?
When I'm alone.
When you're alone sometimes? Yeah, sometimes that can happen. It can happen when you're with others also, of course. It can happen when you're listening to a class, for instance, or you're listening to somebody speaking, and it triggers off something within us. It could be when you're alone also, but how deep those realizations are, who knows? Usually in the association of devotees, realizations are awoken.
Difficulties also.
Pardon?
Difficulties, challenges.
Sometimes when you're in great difficulty, you get realizations. Prabhupada says clearly, the material world has to be miserable. It's meant to be miserable. It's not meant to be anything but miserable, basically. Although it is relative, degrees, but primarily, Haribol. You're just on time for prasadam. Now we have some Mahaprasad. Yeah, because you have to experience, almost like for conditioned soul, I would say, you more or less have to experience that misery in a sense that you don't want to, you just, to a certain degree, you just don't want it anymore. There's got to be an incentive on that side also. Both sides. It's not just, Krishna consciousness is wonderful. You're still floating around the material world enjoying yourself as if it's another kind of form of joy, flirting with the girls, eating left, right and centers. We have to also have a little bit of realization of the fallacy of material, so-called pleasure. The material world specifically, Prabhupada saying, has to be miserable like that. So when you're in difficulty sometimes those realizations come. They can be different types of realizations. Hankering for association of devotees, lamenting for what we did related to a miserable condition, whatever, different types of realization on our own we cannot possibly attain Krishna consciousness. What other triggers or other impetuses are there for realizations? What else? Any other situations that sometimes create awakening of realizations?
Doing service.
Pardon?
While doing service, certain.
Sometimes while doing service, definitely. Practical service. Now, it may be on different levels of realization, obviously. Service is on different levels of consciousness. While doing service, you get many realizations. On Sankirtan, book distribution, Harinam, preaching, anything, you get many realizations, isn't it? Book distribution is kind of like happens all the time, practically speaking. What about when you're chanting? I would say my experience is when we really take our japa seriously, you get the most realizations. You don't just finish your rounds. You get no realizations. the only realization you get is this is a real drag. This is a real, bore. This is a real austerity. That's not the realization which we're talking about here. This is just mechanical, a waste of time. Sometimes devotees, well, they're not realizations, but they're, whatever, impressions you get. Because we're not going deep, we're not chanting with any, we're not chanting within. It's just lip service, as Bhaktivinoda says. Simply lip service. Lip is going, the hearing is not hardly working, just lip service. Going deep into chanting. We chant our japa very deeply. It comes automatically, you don't have to conjure things up. I've got to get some realization, I have to make a realization. What shall I think of? What shall I try to, let me look something up. Let me look a realization up and try to impose it on my mind. Yes, I now realize that I'm a gopi. Yes, I must be chanting very well this morning. Not like that. Or even a realization, I've realized I'm not this body. Yes, I realized it. No. It comes spontaneously. It comes automatically. It may be at different levels. If you read, we've just gone through different levels just now. It's the same thing in our maturing on the at least on our stage, on our maturing in the path of Vaidhi Bhakti, that there will be stages. Different emotional stages. Repentance, for instance, is one genuine repentance, not just I'm sorry, but actually deeply feeling repentant about our, whatever it may be, our offensive behavior, our materialistic past tendencies or our present tendencies, our whatever, feelings towards others, our lack of devotion, whatever it may, it will come up. And there's many more positive than that. There's many different stages of there when we feel. And then even the hankerings may come. There's a strong desire, as we just heard Tatralolium, this strong urge, intense greed to obtain it. May also awaken, but as you said, it may not be a permanent. It's not a permanent factor. It comes occasionally. But that's how it works. It comes occasionally, it may fade out. It comes up occasionally, but it's gradual. It should be, by proper association, proper practice, it becomes a constant anchoring, more and more and more. So there may be other ways too. You may get realizations of various kinds. But there has to be some realization backing our practice. You can't just be mechanical. Just get it done, carry on. It'll take a long, long time. You had a question?
Yes, Maharaj. You said to get pure devotional service, we need that intense greed.
That's what
And sometimes we
Ramananda Roy is saying.
We see devotees who are very enthusiastic and so dedicated to the service, and we see that we don't have that enthusiasm, but we want to do inspired by them the same thing. But I was wondering, then it doesn't become imitation.
Pardon?
Doesn't it become imitation if we try to artificially?
Depends. I mean, sometimes we hear imitation of a good thing is good, but sometimes we hear that we shouldn't imitate. So it depends on the attitude. It depends on the individual as well. In terms of enthusiasm is not necessarily, measured just by somebody who seems to be, very into something. It is, in a sense, but it depends what the objective of that is. It depends how, if real enthusiasm is unimpeded, it's not something which is impeded by health, by results, by recognition, by circumstances. It is, as it says here, intense means there's nothing that can interfere with that greed or that intention. So enthusiasm to serve Krishna is not depending on, because I like doing this particular kind of service, but not that one. It's a state of consciousness where you only exist for the pleasure of Krishna. It's not because I like doing this, I'm very enthusiastic. And there are some devotees who are seen to be super enthusiastic all around. They may actually be. I mean, we can judge people according to one, you know. They may not be. It may be, you know, maybe it's just for show. But you can't keep that going for long. You can't generally be, you know, enthusiastic just for show, because you're not going to get it. You might get it for a little while, but you're going to realize after a while there's not going to be, the results aren't going to be the same, and you're not going to be enthusiastic. You'll go somewhere else to try to fulfill your desires. So if the desires are to satisfy your senses, then definitely that's imitation. But if the desire is to genuinely, although we may not obviously be 100% there, but we really want to try to satisfy Krishna's desires, then, you know, that's not a bad thing. It has to be, of course, with intelligence too. Sometimes we go overboard, and that's over-endeavoring. And perhaps our endeavor becomes over-extreme. And so we're very enthusiastic, but we enthusiastically burn out. Yeah. No sleep, no eating. I just want to serve, Prabhu. I just want to serve day and night. I don't want to eat. I don't want to sleep. I don't want any recognition, Prabhu. I don't want anything. I don't care if it's cold. I'm just going to go, Prabhu, in the cold water and preach Krishna. You know, sometimes it's a burnout. You know, we may not be there. A little bit of intelligence has to be there too. You know? That's what Prabhupada says. Enthusiasm means action with intelligence. It's not just action. You know, understanding. We're not on that. We're not Raghunath Das Goswami, you know, Haridas Thakur or something. We have to be a little intelligent there. If we don't know that, then we ask those we're working with for guidelines of some kind. So it's not necessarily imitation. It is if the idea is we want to, you know, people to think of us, Prabhu, you're so advanced. You're just like Raghunath Das Goswami. You're so advanced. That's imitation, obviously. No, Prabhu, I'm not. No, don't say that. I'm just a fallen soul. God, if I keep chanting like this, they really will think I'm Raghunath Das. I'll get a lot of followers. I'll definitely get a lot of followers if I keep doing this. I'll get well recognized. That's not good. Use this for yourself. It's not really for Krishna. Otherwise, we try to apply that which is relevant to our present stage of devotional service as much as we can. And the chanting, again, the chanting is not to impress others. It's special. It's our own relationship in that sense. In one sense, you could see it like that with Krishna. The relationship may not be very deep at our stage, but it's certainly, the more we take it seriously, this is our time to actually, it's by the association of Krishna that the heart changes, whichever form it takes. So when we're chanting japa particularly, that's our time where there shouldn't be anything else. That should be all we're associating with. And if we remember, we may not realize, but if we remember, the name is Krishna. The names are Radha and Krishna. We may not remember much more, but if we can remember that much, then, you know, perhaps it will help us to be a little bit more conscious of trying to associate with them when we chant. We associate through the ear, starting with the ear. We should go deeper, but at least we start with the ear. Just by hearing that sound vibration, the effect will take place. The clouds will be slowly, curtains will be undrawn. You'll start to see things for what they are. The more you chant carefully, attentively, Kindvada Adu Nudinam, then these, right down to the root, Rupa Goswami says that these anarthas, these clouds, can be removed by careful chanting of the holy name, avoiding the offenses against the holy name, and try to hear the name carefully. Okay, well, it's getting late. It's 7 o'clock now. Yes, Manu.
I'm not sure if some devotees would like to offer a lamp to them there, but if they want...
Do we have lamps?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful, yeah, I like to. I haven't offered one since I've been here, except for the arti lamp. That's a good idea. Why don't you come and take the...
Yes.
Very unique, I don't know how to describe it. It's got a unique shape. Whichever side you want it. Which side do you want it? That side? Look at this is amazing. Come. Is there still fragrance?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Are you in the security? Is he still on security?
No, he doesn't.
No.
He's retired now.
No more security.
Indian Army.
Yeah, no, you were doing security here for a while, was he doing
It
security?
was the son.
Pardon?
His son was
Oh,
doing
your son was doing the security. Where's your son?
his home.
Is he doing security still?
No.
He's not doing either. What's he doing now?
He's married.